Destination Africa, brought to you by Standard Bank.
Joining us now to discuss some of the opportunities and challenges Africa's tourism sector has to offer investors are Rosheen Singh, Chief Marketing Officer of SA Tourism, and from our bureau in Nairobi, Kenya, Agatha Juma, CEO of Kenya Tourism Federation, joins us as well. Welcome to you both, and thanks so much for taking time to join us today. Let's start off, Rosheen, with you. That a part of Africa's tourism industry that was showcased in the insert. In South Africa, we still, though, don't seem to have, travel and tourism being seen as a significant enough economic sector, and that despite its contribution to the country's fiscus already. Why do you think that is, and to what extent are we starting to see shifts in perception?
Well, in the new growth path that our government has developed, tourism is one of the 6 drivers for economic growth and job creation. I think it has been understood that tourism is a labor-intensive sector and has the potential not only to bring forex into this country, but also to create sustainable jobs.
Where investment into the sector is based on the kind of returns that are eventually set to be reaped, what potential are we looking at when it comes to the sector as a revenue earner for South Africa?
Well, in 2010, tourism contributed 120 billion rand into the economy, and currently we are about 8% of GDP, both direct and indirect contribution of tourism. And also there's over 1 million jobs that have been created through tourism over the last 10 years. And of course, there's a lot of opportunity to improve that, and we have to constantly make sure that our occupancies are kept up. So, we have to diversify where we're getting people from, promote a very robust domestic tourism sector, and also make sure that our bread and butter, which is regional tourism, is increased.
Of course, those two facets have been largely ignored in the past, that of domestic and regional travel. Let's bring Agatha into the conversation at this point, Agatha, because over in Kenya, we got a hint there as to what the sector boasts right now and what we're potentially looking at. What's the current state of the sector from your perspective at this stage of the kind of economic cycle we're in at the moment?
Tourism in Kenya is growing, has been on the growth path. We can definitely do much more, but results released for the first half of this year showed that there was an increase of over 13% from the same period last year. So definitely there is improvement, and the government of Kenya has recognized the importance of tourism, and it is one of the key economic pillars for achievement of Kenya Vision 2030.
It's one thing governments coming to these realizations, though, because it's something that Rosheen has highlighted here in South Africa as well, but it's also what the investors think about this sector. What kind of investment appetite are you seeing in the industry at the moment with this investment case that's being put on the table?
Government may have realized this in the past but did not act on it, but now that they're vocal about it, it's definitely a good thing, because tourism is one of the easiest ways for poverty eradication and growing the economy, because as my colleague said, it is very labor intensive. And once you have the infrastructure in place, it doesn't need constant refurbishment and revisiting. The product is already there and you're getting people to come and consume it at source.
What sense are you getting of the kind of investment that's coming into the tourism space here in South Africa, Rosheen? Because, you've got government and government initiatives really loud about the kind of endeavors they're engaging in. But one has to kind of monitor the private sector involvement we're seeing in this space.
Yes, I think we were very fortunate in this country with the Soccer World Cup, because between about 2006 and 2010, we had about a 20 billion rand investment from the private sector into new hotels and also refurbishing accommodation in the country. And then government, as you know, put in more than 50 billion rand into infrastructure, which deals with issues around transport, our airports. We see it in the Gautrain development, and that has really helped tourism, because ultimately tourism is the big winner of the investment that was put in for the Soccer World Cup.
Who exactly are they managing to or have they been managed to rein in, you know, given that's unfolded, you know, because within that ambit there's a distinction to be made, firstly between local and foreign investment that's being directed this way, and then secondly between the smaller players, so the likes of your SMEs, and then the bigger boys, your more established brands as well. So where are we seeing the interest more heightened at this stage?
We're actually seeing it in both areas. Entrepreneurship is big in South Africa, so we're seeing a lot of small businesses that have managed to find their feet and are operating as a tourism business. We've also seen many of the worldwide recognized brands coming into South Africa, and then we have our own homegrown brands in our hotels, like our, you know, our Proteas, Southern Sun, City Lodges of the world. And then you've seen the likes of Radisson, One and Only, and you've also seen a lot of game lodges that have put in money into investment.
So across the board recognition that we're seeing coming through. Agatha, you know, we've highlighted some of the opportunity here and the investment case that investors like these are getting attracted to right now, but this is still within a very challenging economic cycle from a global perspective, and it's a cyclical industry that we're looking at when it comes to tourism. What are the major headwinds that players in the industry face right now that are possibly acting as deterrents to investment?
The global economic crisis has been a challenge to Kenya's tourism, because most of our visitors are from the West, and we're a long-haul tourism destination. So that has been affecting us in terms of tourist arrivals and also investment into the country. But we are also seeing a lot of interest in development in the tourism sector, like South Africa. A lot of hotels are interested in setting up base in Kenya, and a lot of local investors as well are putting in more money into the tourism sector. So we are hopeful. I think the situation is bad all round, but we can't all give up hope.
Well, certainly we're not giving up hope, especially where you've got, you know, tourism ministers like we've seen in the insert from Kenya coming through saying that they're supportive of infrastructure needing to be in place. They're encouraging flight routes in and out of Africa, you know, more persistently, so accessibility to these tourism destinations can be afforded. What about the regulatory environment, though, Rosheen? I mean, what are we looking at? Is regulation supportive of industry right now?
Well, I think one of the areas where we're quite happy to see airlines coming into South Africa, and I think you know that Emirates just launched their new A380 on Saturday this week, which is going to give us connections via the Middle East to a lot of places globally. But people are complaining about things like airport taxes. So those issues do become a problem at a time of a global economic crisis. But where we're seeing good growth coming in for South Africa is places like China, India, and throughout Africa we had double-digit growth between January and June, 10% from Africa, 42% from India. And as a tourism industry, we need to make sure that we're investing in the right places so that we're catering to the needs of the more mid-range visitor, and our pricing is not pricing us out of our competitors.
Agatha, just to close off with, I mean, when it comes to that regulatory environment in Kenya, is it supportive enough of industry? Because not too long ago, the cost of doing business was highlighted as a key factor eroding sentiment in the sector in Kenya, where we had hefty taxation, for example, a challenge hampering trading conditions.
Business environment in Kenya is challenging. But things have improved with time, and we're hoping that they will continue to improve. There has been a task force that has been working on taxation, and the number of taxes that are charged to businesses have reduced in general in the Kenyan economy. But for tourism, we still feel as private sector that much more can be done, considering the impact that tourism has into the economy, considering that with very little investment, the government then actually gets back much more in terms of foreign exchange. So yes, we can benefit from taxation, tax cuts and incentives to the tourism sector to just grow the economy and to grow business and to reduce poverty and increase employment. There's more that can be done, but these are discussions that will have to take a while. in collaboration with government, but we're already in talks with government to see if they can give us more incentives as the tourism industry to encourage investment.
Certainly a long road ahead. Thanks so much, Agatha, for joining us this afternoon. Agatha Juma is CEO of the Kenya Tourism Federation, and thanks to you, Rosheen, as well. Rosheen Singh, of course, Chief Marketing Officer at SA Tourism.